Yeah,
Okay.
And recording in progress. Beautiful. All right. So what happened was the class action suit came about during the crunch. A lot of people got upset. Well, enough people to put together a class action suit got upset that they thought the percentages they were paying were not only too high, but that a chunk of that was going to the buyer. So the buyer's agent. So you're telling me that I just paid commission, and out of my 6%, you just gave half it away to the guy who just negotiated me down and beat me up on price and beat me up on concessions and beat me up on all of these things where I ended up, spending a lot more money than I wanted to. And the answer was, well, yeah, that's the way it works. So that was the first part. Second part was they built this class action suit around an antitrust, if you will, an antitrust framework, where they came in and they said, look, everywhere we read, including Keller Williams, book, everything they read in their training material and the books they publish, everything is 6%, 6%, 6%, 6%. That's antitrust. So we've kind of got two pieces to the puzzle. And so they really pounded down on the antitrust thing. And that's kind of where they went after. But as a result of all of this, some like Remax was one, Redfin are no longer requiring their agents to be part of NAR. And NAR is no longer requiring, as a result of this, a forced, if you will. If you remember, if you were going to put a property in the MLS, you had to offer something. Over the last year and a half, we've had other meetings where we discussed how we could see, flat fees, $1,000, $3,000, whatever. We actually saw one flat fee for $1. And this was a year and a half ago. I mean, still pretty recently, but it was after the first class action suit that involved the DOJ, Department of Justice, and NAR. So they settled, but the government came back and said, yeah, we're going to accept the settlement, but we're going to leave it open for further suits. So it didn't put an end to things. So what's that do for us? We have right now a situation where our MLS is going to concede and no longer require anything to be offered to a co-broker. Not only that, what that means when you look at the listings and down below under realtor information, it says transaction broker, single agent broker, non-agent or non-broker relationship. When you see that, and you're going to see all zeros. Hey, Teresa, could you get the bell? There's somebody at the desk. Sorry, we're shorthanded. Martha had to leave early and Carmen's on vacation. All right. So where did I leave? Oh, yeah. So MLS is not going to require it anymore. Now, for the most part, we still run business as business. But what's going to happen now that you're seeing this lawsuit? It's not an Inman. It's not special. If you're not in the news, if you're not looking at these specific things, and you're not going to catch it. It's out. It's on CNN, NBC. It's in all the periodicals. It's out in the public. So what ends up happening now is we're in a place where we're going to go for a potential listing agreement, right? I'm going to sit down. I've got a listing. I've got everything worked out, got my conversations in my head because I've been doing this for years. Good to go. Ready. Let's do this. And your customer says, okay, look, when you get to that listing agreement where it says, broker's commission and then the cooperative, and they go, look, just so you know, I don't want to pay a buyer's broker commission. That's what we have to be prepared for. Now, we can still, they haven't outlawed it. They haven't done that yet, but what they're doing now is they're educating the public to say, look, I don't have to pay a buyer's broker commission. And you know what? You're right. You don't have to. You never did. But we need to be prepared to go in and say, these are all the reasons why you would want to. And this is huge. And this is what we need to be prepared for. Why would you not want to? So we need to be prepared. When somebody pays you, and I know, right, 6%, 6%, 6%, It's competitive down here, and I don't know many agents who are getting away with charging 6% across the board. Negotiations bring us in down to the 5 and 4%. And let's face it, you know, if you were paying 6%, when I bought my first house in the 1990s, I paid under $100,000 for it. 6% on that was between $2,000 and $3,000. Okay, so or 3% cut, right? So that part of it. So about $5,000 to $6,000. Well, you know what? We're looking at homes in the 3, 4, 500. The average home is about 350, and we're still charging the same percentages. We're making a lot more money. There's certainly room to grow. And so we have to keep those things into consideration. For us down here, we've never negotiated, and we've always preached that everything's negotiable. We're transaction based. If you want to give away the farm, it's totally up to you. How you want to do your commission, how you want to do your business, it's totally up to you. And I think you need to stick by that. But when we're talking about the buyer broker commission, we need to let them understand what it's all about. So, customer, you're going to give me, let's call it 6%, just because it's even. You're going to give me 6%. And generally what I do, rule of thumb, is I take half of that. I'm taking 3%, and I would offer that to the buyer or the buyer, the broker. So what I'm doing is I'm marketing on our MLS, which now has access to some, what was it? I think the numbers, I saw numbers at high 50s, 64,000 people altogether with some of the new districts they brought in. Our MLS, if you look at the map, actually, I can do a quick share screen here. Let me see. It's the post. Here's our map right here. So when you look at our Stellar, these are all the areas that we market into. These are all access to agents and brokers who are actively searching for their customers. And if you look, we're down in South America. Our listings are going down in South America, Central America, Puerto Rico, Georgia. And you know what? They look at you and go, yeah, and they get up on Zillow and the world sees them anyway. So what does it matter? Well, it matters because rather than risking it just popping up in the middle of, hundreds of others, what you have is you have a buyer broker out there who is actively searching for their customer. And so if you're actively searching for your customer, that gives you an opportunity to actually land somebody who's already been pre-qualified. They're working with their agents to get everything in order in order to buy a home. You're not just having it thrown out into the world and hoping somebody clicks on it. That is not the way it works. I mean, it's not worked successfully. So just kind of you kind of want to keep that in your back pocket. And so we also have here, Stellar showcases more than 300,000 listings in a given year. That's their average. So work the numbers. This is a marketing tool. When you pay me a percentage, 6, 5, 4, whatever it is you've negotiated, you are using that money to market. You're giving me 6% and I'm marketing. I'm going to take a piece of that. I'm offering it to another broker who's out there actively searching, and they're going to bring people. They're going to pre-qualify them. They're going to show them the house, and they're going to do all that. And your customer might say, well, you can do that. I mean, if they just come to you as the listing agent, they don't have a buyer broker, and you just do it, great, I could pay you half. I can't charge you half. I'm going to have to charge you the 6% because now I'm doing double the work. I'm listing your house. I'm doing all these things to prepare and market. I've got all these expenses. I paid for all these tools. And now if I got a buyer coming in, I'm going to have to work with him and the lender, make sure they're pre-qualified. I'm going to have to bring them through the entire process. And so I'm going to be working with them side by side through all of this. So you've just doubled my work, which means I'm still going to charge you 6%. I'm just going to keep all of it. Now, you could argue that it's not completely half. There are some arguments there. Maybe you give them a point, but you can't cut it in half. You can't. You have to be able to be. You have to be prepared to show your value, to show the amount of effort that you do for them as listing agent, and the amount of effort that a buyer broker is going to come in and do to get them to pre-qualify, to get them organized, to get their escrow in, make sure they're on top of them to get through all their inspections, make sure they get their survey, work with the title company, and get all the things they need to do in order to get to a clean close. And you know what? Many of us have dealt with both sides of the deal. We've done it. Some of us have done it. And so it is the extra work, right? I mean, sure, it's a great feeling because right? You're going to collect the full commission. It's all mine. And that's a reward. But, let's face it. And this is just a conversation. This is where you have to sit straight. You have to have your shoulders up and go, look, I'm a professional. This is what I'm doing for you. And you explain the system. Do you have to? No, you don't have to. This is why you want to. These are all the reasons why you want to. Look, we're going to put this up on a system. I have it. It's 64. Terry, you said it was 59, but when I went on the website, Stellar website said that they had a total with the new additions, a total of over 65,000 brokers and agents. That's the number. There you go. All right. So that's all that information's on the Stellar website. You can go in, you can check out, all the information under agents. You don't even have to log in for this stuff. It's all public domain information. So that's where we're at. That's where I want you guys to be prepared. I don't want you to be cold cocked when you go in and go, well, yeah, I heard that too. No, you don't have to, but this is why you'd want to. Any questions, any additions, anything of concern that, that I didn't touch on? I mean, this is really the boiled down Reader's Digest version of where we're at right now.
Okay, I got a question.
Yeah, Noberto.
That's on the seller side. Let's say that I am the buying agent, right? And I just go to a house and show a house which it likes, my customer wanted.
Yep.
But that house, particularly the agent that did the contract with them, fall under this new category, and for some reason he didn't want to, or whatever, he didn't negotiate right, or they don't offer nothing to the buyer. So what is my point? I just talk to my customer and go away to a next house and say, don't buy here, because I don't want to make a penny of it.
So that's a very good question. Now, the conversation you may want to have with your buyer, let's talk. Okay, good. Let's talk about the buyer side. I think we got a handle on the listing side and the conversations we have to have. Ultimately, you want the listing, you want to get your commission. Your seller is adamant. I do not want to add anything on there. So you don't. So you got a buyer on the buy side that has a customer says, I want to look at this. And you have to talk to your customer and say, well, if you do, you're going to have to pay my commission. Now, everyone who's done a buyer's loop in .loop, in the template, there is a exclusive buyer brokers agreement. That's the agreement you're going to have to put in place up front with your buyers to say, look, I'm going to show you homes. Chances are we're going to have a home where I'm covered. If I'm not, you're going to be responsible to pay my commission. That's another conversation. That's where you have to show your value. Look, these are all the things I'm doing for you and with you. Generally, when I'm talking to new agents and I'm training them on the buyer broker agreement, it goes something like this. You meet a new customer, you show them a couple of homes, right? You're taking the time to build that rapport, have the conversations, find out about their family, not just what they're looking for, but why. And you start to get that bond, you start to build that relationship. At some point, you got to ask two questions. First of all, are you pre-qualified, right? And I usually do that after the first showing. If you've gone in and you've shown a couple of homes and this was great, then you ask them, it's like, have you talked to a lender? Are you pre-qualified? Well, no, I haven't. Well, look, before we spend much more time, this is what happens. And you explain the process and let them know, if you love this house, if this house was a 10 and you wanted to put an offer right now, we wouldn't be able to, because we can't put in the offer without a pre-qual letter. You have to talk to a lender. We have to know exactly what you're qualified for and what we're able to do. I have yet to meet an agent who will accept an offer without pre-qualification, at the minimum, proof of funds, or best of all, pre-approval. Fully approved. I got this. But we have to go in with those. So you've got to get that out of the way. And by the way, as we move forward, I'm going to be investing a lot of time working with you. As you see, I want to show you more homes, and we're going to get the perfect one for you. And I'm going to walk you through all these steps. But my broker requires. Now, why do I make it the broker? My broker requires that you sign an exclusive buyer broker agreement with us. With our investment in time and effort, we need to make sure that that we're covered, that you're invested in us. So you've got to explain the buyer broker agreement, but you've also got to be very clear. People need to understand what they're doing. So when they're signing that agreement, they're saying, yeah, I'm with you. I'm happy to have you help me find my home. Great. You get down in the nitty gritty and you say, well, you know, there's a fee up front. I'm going to charge you the $645, but what I'm going to do is I'll pay it back to you when we close on the house. And that's pretty good. And some people just collect it at the closing and, you know, do the transfer and call it what it is. And some people will actually collect the cash up front. By the way, if you do that, if you collect a fee for anything regarding real estate, the check is made out to Ameriteam Realty, made out to your broker. Bring it in, recycle it through, take our 10%, you get the rest. And then you can credit it back. And you know what? We'll credit it back too. So don't worry about that. Here's the additional thing. Roger, I'll get to you in just a second. As you go down, there is the stipulation that if I am not paid my commission by the cooperative broker, you agree to pay me, and then that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you're getting somebody to come in and say, yeah, I'm willing to pay you. So how's this going to work if you come across a home that doesn't offer a commission? Well, you're going to pay me. It could be a flat fee. It could be 2% of the purchase price of the house, 1%, whatever it is you choose, plus the broker's fee. Or you take that out of your commission, however you want to negotiate it. And there's a risk there. Now, okay, let's say you've gotten past that part and you come to a piece of property and, like Noberto has presented, yeah, they're not paying commission. It is to the benefit of the buyer. And this is, I was part of the town hall meeting we had at Stellar, Aura, a week or two ago. Remember they had that big town hall where only 300 people could log in and see the whole thing? They've since put out the video, and I was able to ask 2 questions. And actually it's the same question to 2 people. But the issue for me is Code of Ethics 1616, where it says you can't make a contract contingent upon a buyer's commission, right? Rearranging the terms offered in the co-brokerage. And yet their response was, well, that's because it needs to be to the benefit of the customer. So I would argue the point that it's to the benefit of the customer for you to put in a contingency on the contract, just like down in optional, you're requesting that the seller pay up to 6% or 3% or whatever it happens to be toward purchase of the purchase price toward closing costs and prepays. You would add another line in there that seller agrees to pay buyer's broker commission of X% or flat fee or whatever that happens to be, and you submit it. There's also another place you want to put that in Section 9 of the purchase and sale contract. You can actually put the cost to the buyer, cost to the seller, right? It's your seller. You can write cost to the seller, 2% of purchase price or whatever that happens to be, and write it in. You can do it both places, but make sure it's clear. Everything that we do has to be transparent. You never want to get to the closing table and have somebody look at you and go, you know what, you didn't clearly explain that to me. You didn't clarify that. I didn't understand what I was. You don't ever want to hear that. So make sure people understand the risk. Okay, Roger, you had a question.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for clarifying all of that. I appreciate that. Very educational. I have a real situation with my this client. He wants me to list his place, but he told me I don't want to pay the buyer's commission. So he wants me to sell his place, list his place, and he says it's going to be over 600 something. And he says I don't want to pay $40,000 from my pocket to that. So, and I have other realtors that are offering me no, just if you work with me, you only pay 3% and nothing more than that. So I said, well, three on each side. And he says no. The two realtors from different agencies, they told me that only 3%, and I don't have to pay the buyer's broker or agent commission. That's my real situation now. So what am I going to tell him?
So how much is the house worth?
635.
So over 600,000, you're talking about 2%, which is 12 grand. So it's up to you, right? Do you want to take it and not offer anything, or is he willing to pay you 2%? You're willing to share a half a point or a point. So it's $6,000 less in your pocket, but it's $6,000 that you could split. I had this conversation a while ago with an agent regarding commissions, and he was lamenting. He was really upset. He came in the office. In my office, he says, I'm livid. I've got this buyer wants to buy a house. The guy's only offering 2%, and 2%. Well, I mean, what's that? And I asked him. I says, how much is the house? And he said, well, it's It was 512 or whatever that is. I says, well, that's over $10,000. You got a problem with that? He goes, well, not if you put it that way. So a lot of times we get hung up on the percentages. You can certainly negotiate and say, look, I'm going to offer 2. I'm going to take the 2. I'm going to split it, or I'm going to take the 2. But let me ask you this, seller, if somebody comes along and they request their buyer's broker to come through and be paid from this, are you willing to do that? Are you willing to cough up a point or two for that? And that way, it's not a requirement so much as an option. So what'll happen is you might get offers where, okay, they're requesting you to pay the buyer's broker commission and he can turn them down, but maybe 30, 60, 90 days down the road, maybe he's willing to actually do that. Terry, you want to add?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I do want to add to that. Also, while I'm adding to that, can you let a couple of people in? I think a couple of people are trying to get in. So we have this mindset where we're always talking about percentage. And one of the things that I heard you do is you did a little bit of math and you said, oh, that's $10,000. Do you not, are you okay with 10,000? Well, yeah, if you say it that way. Keep in mind that it doesn't actually have to be a percentage at all. It can actually be a dollar amount, and I think we skip that a lot of times. We overlook that, like it has to be a percentage, but technically, each agent could say, I charge this amount per transaction. They could do that if they wanted to. It doesn't have to be a percentage. We just think percentage because that's the way we've seen it so often, is by a percentage. But even in the MLS where it has the commission that you're offering even for the co-broke, that can be a flat amount. It doesn't have to be a percentage. So I just want to open people's mind up to say, it is negotiable. And it doesn't have to be a percentage. It's not the only way to do it. If you want to, set a goal and set a budget and set your terms of this is what I charge per transaction, you can do that. That's what I had to say.
Yeah, and that's thank you, Terry, for adding that. Yeah, we do get stuck on percentages, don't we? And that was kind of my point back there. It's like, 2%. Who's paying 2%? Yeah, well, that's $10,000 out of their pocket. So, Roger, what I might say in this situation, because this is why we're having this meeting, we're all going to be in this situations. They're adamant, I'm not making an offering. And you can tell them, fine, you know what? You don't have to offer anything. But let me ask you this. If down the road we're finding out that we're not getting the buyers we wanted, are you willing, as an option, to negotiate paying a buyer's broker. It's an option. It's just, can we kick that in down the road if we get down the road and find out we're not getting the traffic we wanted? Kelly. Oh, you're on mute.
Thanks, Adam.
Kelly, you're on mute.
I had a question. If I
Hold on, Douglas.
Yeah, no. Just a couple things, like on the when you're taking your buyer out and printing your MLS items, you're going to be, of course, we always look at the commission, but if somebody's paying zero, hey, Mr. Buyer, I'm really excited about us seeing this home, but you know, the seller's not paying me any commission and I'll have to charge you. Do you want to go ahead and continue to see that? You know, that's one option.
Yep.
And then the other option is if they love the home at 0% and it's $300,000, offer $315 to cover your commission. You know, things like that. It's like, this just falls in the realm of everything's negotiable.
Exactly. And Kelly, that's a good point, because sometimes, and I've done this for buyers who are a little tight on cash, and that's another thing too, right? So we're asking buyers to pocket or to take out of pocket more money. I mean, they're already bringing all the dollars to the table to buy the house. So a lot of times, and some of you may have done this, is we'll go to the buyer and go, look, we need $10,000 back. So I'm going to offer you asking plus 10 if you can kick me the 10 back. And most of them, I've never had anyone say, no, we're not doing that. Mostly you can work it out and they get the idea, and you're fine. So very good point. You could do the same thing.
Just a little add on to that.
Yep.
The obvious, and this should be obvious, and Kelly, great idea, but the house has to appraise for the amount of the extra piece of money. So for those of us who are a little bit newer, I just want to make sure that we're planting that thought, is in order to add on, it still has to appraise above that and what the lender's willing to, the percentage that the lender's willing to lend on.
That's true. It has to, that's a good point. So as buyer brokers, we all need to make sure we do good comps on our home, so we know basically the area that we're going to be falling in, and that doesn't push us out of the yard. The other thing too is, you mentioned lenders. We have to make sure it's good with the lender. If the lender's asking for 6 and you're asking for, let's 2 or some fixed amount, the seller could be looking at paying 8%. Now that could be possible, right? But these are the things that we have to contend with, and I think some of the inputs that we've had here have added wonderfully to this. Douglas, you had a question. Mr. Mendoza, you're on mute.
Okay, am I operational?
I got you.
Okay, good. And the theme of negotiation, when you're taking a listing and say somebody's adamant, they say, I don't want to pay any additional monies, I want to pay you your 3% or whatever. Is there something that maybe could say, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do a tiered commission? We could do 5% if I put it on the MLS and you get all the marketing plus, or if I sell it myself, if the person comes directly to me, it'll be a 3%.
That's called a dual variable.
Okay.
I've actually done, so if anyone who's done a listing, it says dual variable, yes or no, that actually exists. I've used that in listing presentations before, where I'm going to charge a percentage and they're like, ooh, that's a little high, but I let them know. It's like, look, I'm going to charge you 5%. If I bring the buyer, I do this, I'm only going to charge you 4%. Oh, yeah, okay, I can do that, because I'm going to be marketing the property anyway. I'm going to put the sale sign out there. I'm hoping I'm going to get a lead that's going to call me directly, so I get a listing, right? So I got all this going on. This is what I want, and I'll do this for you. And it's a great selling technique. It's a great opportunity, but this does add a new bend to it. Now that's like, well, I don't have to offer a buyer's commission. So one, you got to be willing to do it for the price they're willing to do it. And two, I think with Roger in your situation, because you don't want to lose the customer, it's an opportunity. I would have the conversation, explain to them explicitly what the benefits are for offering that, and just have them kind of prepare them for, if just an if, if somebody comes down, we got a really good buyer, really strong buyer, and they're asking you to pay, what would you be willing to pay? Well, I'd be willing to pay a flat $5,000. Great. You don't even have to put it in the listing, just so you know where the limits are. And then, right. And then once you get down that road, Roger, and now maybe it's a beautiful house and it's going to sell like that, or maybe it's going to float. Maybe it's going to sit there for a while. And then at some point in 30, 60, or 90 days, you're having a conversation going, can we try something here? Can we offer a percentage? Can we change this? And then you do a modification to listing agreement and make the changes. So that's definitely a trial and error scenario. That's like people who want too much for their house, and you can't argue them out of it. Look, okay, we'll put it on the market. Yeah, Terry's got that. Yeah, happy. We'll do it. What we'll do is we'll put it on the market and see what happens. Give me 2 to 3 weeks, but you got to promise me, we're going to drop the price. If it doesn't, and you have those conversations. This is just going to be another conversation. Okay, and so I mean we covered a lot, and I have recorded this, so there will be, and I'm gonna give you guys links to some of the things that I shared. And if you Google Barnett, Sitzer Barnett versus NAR, I'm sorry, Burnett. It's not Barnett, it's Burnett. Sitzer Burnett. You're gonna find all kinds of information on it and how it went, and they're going to appeal, because there's no way they're going to pay 1.8 billion. No way. So they're going to fight that one. But in the meantime, we've got the shadow we're living under now, and we have to, as Roger is already experiencing, so timely is this meeting, that here we are. So anything else before we head off into our challenging week? Look, these are just challenges. This isn't anything that we should throw up our hands and walk away from and go, oh my God, the sky is falling, the earth is ending. Doug, we need to make sure we keep our wits about us and we're prepared. Show your value, and let sellers understand that there's a value in offering that cooperative. There is, and they need to be clear on that. Yes, Kelly.
Okay. No, I just wanted to say, there's a lot of stuff that you covered here. We don't have a buyer's broker exclusive agreement to look at, and a lot of information, but newer agents, man, hook up with somebody at the office. I mean, don't just try and remember conversations. Talk with somebody and go over with something, and get some ideas on some conversations, and you'll log that in. You can even write something on note cards on things that may come up or not, but use your people. A-team are your people to get hook up with, so that you can feel confident talking to people, and not going which we all do, but just FYI.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I appreciate the input.
Kelly, are you referring to maybe some role playing?
Yes, I actually have an email to Alan Dion about that. But yes, role playing is something that we could definitely use and create, and people that are actually have a listing presentation that they've actually used and aren't wanting to keep it real close to their vest, because I'm kind of going down a sideline. Anybody, if we're going out there and everybody's gotten their marching orders from everybody to focus on listings, I mean, that's the culture of what's going on now. And so it kind of puts new agents in a whole different realm, because it's really a different animal. And if we can get some role-playing groups together, and but there's 50 some people on this call, and we have KV Core, and they shoot out a canned listing presentation or something. that's a really good start to have it to learn on that. But if you're going up against a couple more agents, you know, we need to kind of get together and pull some information from people that have actually won listing opportunities because they did something different. That's just my thing. Everybody that has KV Core, which you'd be surprised how many brokerages have KV Core, they're going to have that same listing agreement.
Don't use that.
And you know, we got to figure out how to do something different. Of course, you're going to be different, your personality, that's what it's going to be all about, your connection with the buyer or the seller. But you know, if the property is near a lake, you know, there are lake accesses, information data sources that we can print out and put in our listing package, you know, that has sampling and I mean, there's an extensive things that we can fill our listing agreements with that would make us stand out. So just kind of going down a rabbit hole a little bit, but yes, Terry, to answer your question, definitely.
You're saying list. You said listing presentation, right?
I do apologize for interrupting, but I'm doing this for a reason. I haven't upgraded my Zoom, so we're going to get shut off real quick. Anybody who wants to continue the conversation, give me a couple of minutes, log back in, and we'll continue this. I'm happy to do it. All right. So, and it will happen quick. You're going to go boom, because it happened to me before. So I should have known better. I should have used a different account. But just if you get booted out, just come back. Just give me a couple of minutes.